Museums always make me knackered. I found the worst taxidermied dog I've ever seen. Only taxidermied dog I think I've ever seen, but it was really bad. The Weta Workshop sculptures in the Gallipoli exhibition were insane. I was really happy I got to see them. Happy probably being the wrong word. It was heavy. It was a very intense exhibition, and at the end they had this like bowl of water, and it was to cleanse your energy. I love New Zealand. I really want to go out, but I'm like not in the where I'm staying. As soon as the shop shuts, which is 5, it just goes dead, and then when it starts getting dark, it's completely dead, and I don't feel, not that I don't feel safe, but it's not the most enjoyable experience. I think lesson learned, however central something looks on a map, if you're traveling alone, do your research on the actual area of the city that it's in, because I'm in like a shopping area, and as soon as the shop shut, nothing. There's no restaurants, no cafes. Yeah, so I think I might get the bus down into town because I really want to go, and I will go. But I think I'm just gonna have to have a little, at least a little lie down first. If I wear my hair down now, it's literally growing outwards. And now I'm trying to like claim back that successful traveller on her own rather than some sort of wild wanderer of the woods. I feel like I'm on the home straight now. Tomorrow I'm up at 6-ish to check into the train station by 7:15, and the train leaves at 5 to 8, and it is taking me up to National Park, where I'm getting off and hoping to do the Tongariro, but my knees were dodgy today, and if I can't, I will have 2 lovely rest days in beautiful mountain scenery. It's been an interesting couple of hours. I am in National Park. Now in the UK, that means that you would be found somewhere in a forest or up a mountain, in a camping ground, perhaps by a river or a lake. In New Zealand, it's a small village with a train station and a garage. I don't know what I was expecting. I planned this trip meticulously to the finest detail. Also, I thought, what I didn't check was actual like images of National Park. So I looked on Google Maps and I was like, oh, there's Foursquare. Now, from experience, a Foursquare is kind of like a co-op, or like a big co-op, or a big Tesco Express or something like that. You know, you can get a decent, you can do your weekly shop there if you really had to. There was one in Queenstown, there were loads in Wellington. I was just like, perfect. The Foursquare in National Park is the garage. I'm here for 2 days because I was there thinking, let's be practical and give myself 2 days here in case one of the days the weather's bad for the crossing, so that way I'll have a spare day. On the map, it looked kind of like a mini Queenstown, like a bustling little touristy hub. On the walk to the station, from the station, which was a 15-minute walk lugging my massive suitcase, I saw nobody. No evidence of life. And then I got here and the lady was very friendly, and I was like, where can I go for dinner? And then she was like, oh, we have a kitchen. And I was like, yeah. Just realised that the only shop's a petrol station. I don't have a car. And she went, oh. So she was like, well, there's a hotel around the corner. The restaurant might be open today. It's a Sunday. So I was like, okay. So I think I'm gonna be living off whatever I can find in the petrol station There is all to do here except sit in my bedroom. Was feeling a bit iffy on the train. I think I'm just, as I've established by now, exhausted. There's been several times where I've been like, what am I doing? But this now feels, in a weird way, more out of my comfort zone than hiking in the wilderness did. Because there's nothing to do and there's no food. Like, that is like anxiety central. But I've had to sit down and I've not had a cry and I'm all right. Just a bit like jelly. Of all the things to not plan, like I should have just hired a car for the whole last week of my trip. I was thinking I want to do all of the modes of transport. I want to drive, I want a bus, I want a train, I want a boat. I've done them all. But it means I'm entirely at the whim of the trains and I'm in the middle of nowhere with no access to anything. I'll just go to the bar. This is my world. And that's if I can even do the crossing. If my knees are still in 2 days' time, excuse me, I can't even do that. So this is my world, literally. There's nothing to do. It's 7:35 in the evening and I've just got into bed. I've done it, I've done the thing. I have booked my crossing shuttle, not for tomorrow, because I thought I'd give my knees another day of rest, and also the weather is better for Tuesday, so I have booked the 5:45 a.m. shuttle for Tuesday morning. For anyone who's not experienced anxiety before, A, lucky you, and B, I'm going to try and explain to you what it's like. I have been in far more stressful situations on this holiday. The physical strength that classic walk needed was something that was within my reach that I thought maybe wasn't, but I just ploughed on anyway. It took a lot of mental strength and emotional strength, and I just kept doing it. It was really hard, but I just was like, I'm going to do this, I'm determined, I'm going to get to the end. With this crossing, it's like a totally different feeling. I can feel myself like starting to try and make myself ill, and my body does this if I'm anxious. I get short of breath, I get a sore tickly throat, and I kind of go hot, and like I know it's just anxiety. It's vastly different to when I have an actual cold. And my brain will just tell me everything that can go wrong. I'm convinced I'm going to get really unwell with altitude sickness. I have no proof that I will. I've read a handful, like the tiniest, like 2 or 3 people said out of all of the reviews that they felt unwell. Like, but my brain has convinced me that I'm going to get unwell and therefore I shouldn't do it. And then, oh my God, what are my knees? Am I going to get stranded up there? What am I going to do? I had none of this on the Milford track or the Route Burn track. And if there were any worries, my brain would immediately be like, well, this is the solution. This is why you don't need to worry. Because that was genuinely stressful. Now I've done that, which will be the hardest thing I've ever had to do. This is just one day. I did 6 days. This is just one. And my brain is way more worried about this, coming up with all sorts of what-if scenarios. And it's crippling. And that's why I made myself go out, talk to someone. The guy behind the bar was really friendly, very sarcastic. And book the bloody thing. Because otherwise I'm just going to sit here in a state of anxious tension. So like, I was so anxious that my chest was tight, I convinced myself I already have the start of altitude sickness. We're only at 800 metres. This is what it does. You know it's irrational, but it just gets you and hinders you and holds you back. So this is the real test now. I've done the stress, I've done the tiredness, but it was dealt with in like 5-10 minutes. Just had a little lie down, little meditate, and was absolutely fine. This is really bad. Anyway, so there we go. There's some insight into how irrational anxiety is. It takes just one little thought, and if you let that thought get a grip and spiral, you're kind of done for. So the only way around it is to just fight it. And I figured booking the shuttle, I've paid for it now, there's no refund. There's bloody helicopters if I really need. There's always an option. There will be, this is the busiest hike in New Zealand. I will not be on my own. But for some reason, it's just become a thing in my head, and that's why I'm determined, that's why I have to do it. Because that's the only way you can beat your limit and release yourself from these limitations, is to not make them limitations anymore. I'm all alone in this tiny village in the back of Beyond. 5 years ago, even if I was with somebody, I would have been crying and being like, I don't want to do it, I can't do it, I can't stay here. I need to be somewhere with choice, I need to be somewhere where I have control. But if you put yourself into out of your comfort zone, you realise you do always have control, because you may not be able to control your environment, but you can control how you react. You can control how much you spiral. So let's watch this space. So tomorrow I'm just gonna have a day of nothing, rest the legs, and then Tuesday I'm gonna at least attempt this crossing. That's been my mantra all the way through for all these walks. I can only try. Okay, right. Well, it's probably 7:45 by now, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna read, and I want to be asleep by 9. Do I need to do anything? What's this for? This is a trial, right? It's a test. What's happening? No one has told me about this. Does this mean there's going to be an earthquake or a volcano eruption? There's a volcano like right there. Oh my god, I'm going to have to go. What is this? Okay, that siren has stopped, but now I can hear just like a normal police siren. Oh my god, that was really scary. It was like a proper World War II like evacuation siren. Oh god. I've googled, and I know there's like a police station up like kind of around the corner-ish, and it did kind of sound like it was coming from that direction, and they said sometimes because it's so rural, if there's like an emergency, they'll just sound the emergency siren until one of the police or fire brigade turns up and does something about it, and that's when it gets turned off. And this one was turned off after about like a minute. That or Mount Ruapeo is about to explode. There's nothing I can do about that because I don't have a car, so I guess I'll just have to sit here inside and hope for the best. Gratuitous Mount Ruapeo in the background. I was halfway up that a few weeks ago looking for Erebor, because apparently that's who I am now. This is where I'm going to be at 5:45 tomorrow. Sadly not Tina's massages.